Good afternoon. It's a lovely sunny afternoon as I look about me. Hardly any clouds in the sky. And I'm delighted to reveal to you that Operation Mowing the Lawns for the first time this spring has now been completed. So I've gone all around the house, around the perimeter of the fence, and I've done just now the drive and the Mr Darcy walk, which is where I'm heading. But doing so has revealed a couple of things that I need to do to tidy up the garden, and I'm heading over that way now. So first things first, I'm heading down the track which goes to the bridge, which goes to the Mr Darcy walk, the Mr Darcy walk extension loop and the boundary gate. And what I'm doing here is, as the tea tree grows intermittently, I just snip back the bits which are a bit getting in your face, getting in the way, and then eventually I'm hoping that we'll have the tea tree tunnel recreated, which was in existence prior to the bushfire. It's just quite a nice little feature, but I need to tidy it up. So I'm just going to quickly do that now. It shouldn't take very long. That's that done. Proceeding over the bridge to the Mr Darcy walk so I can head up to the next thing I need to do. So that I pass this way and show you what it's looking like since it's been mowed. I will caution you that I know that I'm going to have to do this in stages, because the ground even now is still pretty damp, and I was getting into a bit of trouble here, you might be able to see. And the last thing I want to do is get the mower bogged. The problem that I have is this tufty grass is very, very difficult for me to mow over. So I sort of have to take it really slowly and do it bit by bit. And then hopefully one day I'll sort of have knocked it back so much that I can just mow it normally. But it's looking much better. Because of the dampness of the ground, I wasn't able to get to this clump. And I sort of a bit cautious about this clump because I can't really see it now, but there's either a big rock, oh here we go, or this sort of great big mound of earth, which I think is probably an ant's nest. Maybe make it out. And also obviously I'm loath to mow over that. And I think there was another thing up there which I thought was going to be a hindrance, so I'll be doing this bit very cautiously. I guess it could be a land yabby rather than ants. I might expect a load of ants to come out. Whatever it is, it's like, it's not in use at the moment, so don't worry, I haven't disturbed an animal. So yeah, I'm going to have to take this section pretty cautiously. There we go, actually. Can you see all those ants? That was an ant's nest. It's hard to tell. Sorry, ants. Don't worry, the ants will rebuild. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how the Mr Darcy walk is looking now. It's the first time I've been able to mow it as extensively as I have because of the persistent dampness. But I feel like the more I go over it, the better it's going to get. The more I can take out the remnants of this clump, or these clumps of grass. That was another one I was struggling to access, so I'll have to come back to that. The better and better it's going to start looking, so that's a positive. But I am heading to more or less the top of our section of drive to undertake another relatively minor project which will make my life a little bit easier next time I come to mow. As I head over there, I am so I'm just going to stop to pick up this stick. I thought I'd mention that since I've just noticed there is actually quite a lot of so I'm just going to stop to pick up this stone. Things I don't want to go over on my mower. Yeah, there's a bit of warmth to this sun, And I wanted to say that I have so far on the property seen my first monitor lizard, otherwise known as a goanna, and on the big drive that our drive goes onto, I saw a blue-tongue lizard, but I am yet to see my first snake. Sadly, I have seen dead snakes on the road, a couple of them. It's a bit like the flowers. You sort of see them, because we're at altitude, we're at about 500 metres above sea level. So the flowers will sort of come out down at sea level, and then you'll see them progressively coming closer and closer to our property as the height affects the flowering season. We're slightly delayed here. Our season is slightly shorter because we're slightly cooler. And it's the same with the snakes. Sadly, the dead snakes on the road, I'll see them sort of closer to sea level and then slowly closer to home. Don't misunderstand me, I'm not talking about hundreds, just the odd one or two here or there. And I suspect a lot of the times the people who have run over the snakes didn't mean to. They're actually quite difficult to avoid. They look so much like sticks, and you often don't see them till the last minute. However, that aside, I am still hanging out for seeing my first snake. That's sort of why my eyes are darting about, just in case today might be the day. They no longer occupy our snake shed since we converted it to storage. So, although we keep the name, it's no longer serving as that function. We had some red-bellied black snakes who would hibernate in that shed, but no longer do. But don't worry, they're very savvy about their environment, so they will have found somewhere else and they'll be living their best life there, but still in the vicinity of the property. Anyway, I've arrived at my destination, which is, as I say, at the top of our drive as it joins the main drive up to the road. And the thing that is irritating about this section of the lawn mowing is this blackberry, which has encroached over the fence and onto our property. It's annoying in the sense that my trousers get all snagged on it as I'm going by, so I thought I'd just give it a snip and therefore make this part of mowing this section of lawn a little bit more enjoyable. So it's really just from there to here, and it's just the stuff that's really come over the fence. Whilst I'm on the subject of snakes, I thought I'd just mention briefly that Will and I, as you may have gathered, are big fans of snakes. We think they're beautiful and interesting animals, but we do treat them with respect. And if you're not a fan of snakes, then that's perfectly reasonable. I don't believe that a fear of snakes is irrational. I think that's illogical. Of course it's perfectly rational to be afraid of snakes. Australian snakes are very dangerous and could easily kill you, as could snakes in many other countries around the world. And I think that one of the things that's telling for me is that both Vita and dogs that I've observed around snakes really don't like them. Now, Vita's Scottish, and although you can get adders and other snakes in the south of Scotland, which is where we live, you basically are never going to see one there. And in all the 36 years that I lived in the UK, I saw 2 snakes. And so they're not that common to come across. But Vita was in the garden and a red-bellied black snake was going along the fence line. And the way she reacted, she just knew. She knew there was something a bit wrong about this animal, for want of a better way of putting it. She was very wary and very cautious about it. So there's an innate fear, I think, around snakes. So if you're afraid of snakes, I think it's perfectly rational. And I was thinking about it, and I think there aren't that many things that I think you could legitimately say it's possible to have an irrational fear of. Because most things if the fear is that you could get harmed by them, could cause harm. So maybe it's time to say goodbye to the idea of an irrational fear. You know, people think, oh, she's afraid or he's afraid of buttons, that's very funny. But, you know, you could choke on a button. Someone might be afraid of trees, or, you know, a tree could fall on you and crush you to death. Most things could be dangerous in some circumstances. So, yes, maybe the concept of irrational fears doesn't really make sense anyway. Anyway, I digress. As I approach the house, this isn't the newness that I mean to show you. That's coming up, hopefully courtesy of Will. But there is other newness. And I sort of feel a bit like I don't want to show you this because it seems excessive, especially in light of what Will's going to be showing you. However, I wanted to introduce you to our current car situation, which is, as you can see at the moment, for the time being, we have 4 of them, which, as I say, doesn't necessarily make me feel good about life, but that's the situation we're in. And that is because when Will bought this Brumby, it actually came as a pair. So yesterday we took delivery of its companion. These were originally used on a farm and then were retired for all-terrain vehicles. So they haven't necessarily been looked after, and as you can see, this one has got quite severe bodywork damage, although Will tells me, and we're led to believe that mechanically, aside from that, I suppose, superficial damage, this one is the better car. It's a little bit better looking on this side. So this car, because of the superficial damage to the bodywork, has been used basically as a donor, donating parts to this car, which has been maintained and kept on the road, and we now look after it and use it on the road. But we're thinking of selling this one, not for scrap. It could be quite a good project. If you go online, Brumbies can fetch a fair penny, and someone who's good at restoring vehicles could make a fortune out of that. So we're thinking of selling this one, taking this one off the road and just having it as our property vehicle. Mostly what I'd use it for, mostly what it is used for, is transporting wood down from the backwoods down to the wood processing area for our firewood, and we also use it to make trips to the tip, and it's the only vehicle up till now that we've had which has had a tow bar to facilitate not only putting stuff in the tray but also towing it. However, that situation has changed with the arrival of this Mitsubishi Outlander, courtesy of Will's parents. They were looking to get rid of it, so we have taken it on. It was very, very reasonably priced. So all we had to do really was get what's known as a roadworthy certificate and transfer the registration from their name to our name. And so the reason that we're thinking of taking that Brumby off the road and just having it as an unregistered farm vehicle or property vehicle is because this one does most of what we want that one to do off the property, but better. So it's got a tow bar for the purpose of towing our trailer. It also has a roof rack. It's got a very, very large amount of boot space. So for example, this is out going to the tip pile of stuff. Most of it's recycling. So we'll be able to shove all of that probably in the back of the car, or if we didn't want to do that, we can pop it in the trailer. But the benefit of this is that it's got air conditioning, it's more reliable, it's more comfortable, and so perhaps for the sort of purposes we might use a Brumby for which aren't transporting firewood, this is the better bet. So then essentially we'd have 2 cars on the road, my car and this car off the road only for work on the property, and this car we're looking to sell. And then I will hand you over to Will.
Last week I took the train up to New South Wales in order to buy a new car. This is a Mazda MX-5, as you probably know. In the UK, I owned one very much like it, and regrettably had to leave it behind. But I've wanted one ever since, and here it is. Ignore the building in the background. This was just a convenient place to do this video. I wanted to record the whole trip and record me buying the car, but it all got a bit chaotic. I missed the train connection because the train from Melbourne to Sydney was late, so I wasn't able to get the connection, and ended up flying the rest of the way, which was a remarkably easy process. And then there was a bit of a problem at the other end, so I didn't do any more filming. So I'm filming the car now to show you, and it's an absolute beauty. British Racing Green. 1998 is the year, but it's in remarkably good condition. I've locked it. You can hear some baby magpies in the background there. I've got a few bags and things in the front seat because the boot, which is a remarkably spacious boot, is going to have some shopping in it soon. But this is the boot. And I'll show you how we take the top down. None of these fancy electronic hoods. You just do this and that, and top comes down like that. And there we go. It's an absolute joy to drive. I collected it from northern New South Wales, which is quite a distance. Maybe we can flash up on the screen how far it is from here to the town where I got it, but a long way. So I had to get a train from where we live to Melbourne, another train from Melbourne to Sydney overnight, which was a very pleasant journey actually, but that was delayed. I was supposed to get a train from Sydney to the town where I collected it in northern New South Wales, but missed that connection, which was very frustrating. With about 45 minutes to go, I was able to get a train from Sydney Central Railway Station to Sydney Airport and get a flight. It was very convenient. It's a very easy journey from Central Sydney Railway Station to the airport. I flew to the town, and then there were various problems getting the money to the seller. The bank doesn't like to transfer large sums of money, and anyway, we sorted it out in the end. And then I drove all the way back, stopping on the way and staying over in a motel, and it was a lovely journey, and it drives beautifully. I might later record a little bit of myself driving if I can do that, if it's safe to do that. But I'll start it up. the aerial goes up when you start the engine, which is quite nice. And I'll have to close that door that I left open. I'll just drive a little bit on this waste ground so you can get an idea of what it's like to drive. Probably not very safe to be driving one-handed while filming, but I'm not on a public road at the moment. It handles absolutely beautifully. I do keep a steering lock there. In fact, there's two steering locks. The seller gave me one, but I have a very good one that I bought years ago, because obviously it would be quite easy for a potential thief to slash the roof with a Stanley knife. Not that I want to be paranoid, but you can't be too careful. Yes, there it is. Beautiful car. Shame about the background.